Hi there, this week's question is, why do video game frame rates drop? My name is Steve, this is TQA Weekly, and seeing how a lot of you are actually fans of gaming, especially watching my channel, I decided I was going to answer this question on why some video game frame rates just drop in your computer. I'm going to start off with the graphics card. I know it's a little bit counterintuitive because we're used to this when it comes to computers, but you definitely want your graphics card to be saturated for performance sake. You definitely don't want the VRAM to be overflowing, but you want the graphics processor to be completely saturated. An unsaturated graphics processor will actually generate fewer frames per second, and therefore will actually increase stuttering or just slow gameplay actually on your screen. And this might actually cause issues while you are actually gaming on that computer or doing anything that requires some sort of frame rate minimum. So you definitely want a graphics card that is performing to its best. And there are a few reasons to this, but one of the reasons why a graphics processing unit on a graphics card might be slow might be related to your power supply. Now, your power supply unit, if it's underpowered to your computer, will cause a whole bunch of other mechanisms to slow down or not operate correctly. So a weak power supply that doesn't have enough power behind it will not be able to properly power your graphics card and or your power processor because it is not powering the entire system correctly, which is why when you build your computers, more is better. You're never going to use all of the wattage out of a really big power supply, but at least it's there just in case you need a few more watts of performance, because if you don't have it, your fans can slow down or your graphics card or processors can definitely slow down. But it is possible that it's not your power supply unit the issue. It can be your processor. Now, if you have been around for a while, you know about Assassin's Creed Unity. One of the biggest issues had to do with draw calls. If there are too many draw calls and your processor is not powerful enough or fast enough, what ends up happening is it doesn't send enough of that information to the graphics card. And while the graphics card can be performing properly, but if it's not getting all of the information it's supposed to, it will render graphics that look a little scary or improperly. So this causes a lot of bugs and might cause some stuttering. It could cause definite frame rate issues. You want a power supply, a graphics card, and a processor to be operating at their peak performance so that you're actually generating all the information you need. But your processor is getting some of that information from your RAM. If you do not have enough RAM or your RAM is too slow, that will definitely cause issues for your processor and your graphics processor. Because if it's not getting those pieces of information in a timely fashion, that definitely slows down your frame rate, meaning that you are again at a disadvantage when it comes to your gaming and a frame rate drop. So what you would want is to have sufficient RAM that is running fast enough with a processor that is great enough to be able to give the information to your graphics processor with enough power behind it so that everything runs properly. But there is still one more thing that can make your frame rate drop, and it is computer storage. The slower the storage on your computer, the weaker the performance is going to be for everything else in the chain. All your performance comes down to the slowest piece of your computer, which is more often than not the storage for the computer, which is why it tends to buffer all the information it can directly into RAM. So if you have faster computer storage, moving away from spinning hard drives all the way to SSDs, you will actually have a marked increase in performance, giving you more frames per second, allowing your computer to actually generate more frames per second. And that's not including the fact that as you move away from spinning hardware, you actually drop power requirements in your computer. So this means that if you have a graphics card that is getting all the information that it needs from the processor due to great enough RAM, due to fast enough computer storage, due to a power supply that has enough power, and everything else just happens to fit completely in the right place, then your computer should be running at its best. But we still have one more thing that you can do that can mark a better increase in frame rates when it comes to gaming, and that is to update your video game, update your graphics driver, update your operating system. And as long as you do those things, you will get the best performance out of your computer, provided that you learn a time-true logic when it comes to building your computer, which is to balance out your hardware. There is no point in having the fanciest graphics card in your computer build if everything else is slow and underpowered. And I hope you understand why the frame rates in your video games might nosedive if you don't properly balance out the performance in your computer. And other things you can do is to just drop texture quality in video games. So I hope that answers your question. And if you have any other questions, comments, suggestions for topics, drop them down below or email me them at ask@tqaweekly.com. You can also go to the website, tqaweekly.com, where you can see the show notes on this episode, past others, find other ways of subscribing, and of course, use the contact form to email me directly. And if you want to see me play video games, I play every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern, and I am currently replaying Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.